They finally realized that the chain is being broke now. Cars won't come in. Food won't come in. Clothing won't come in. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world. And it's time for them and time for Washington to put so much pressure on them to take care of us, because we took care of them. And we're here 135 years and brought them where they are today, and they don't want to share.
How fitting is it that on the final days of the Biden administration, we have mass shortages in the supply chain and World War III breaking out in the Middle East? I'm Vince for RTM News. If you enjoy our content, do us a big favor, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Your subscription goes a long way in ensuring we can keep bringing you news videos like this. So thank you very much in advance. Be sure to go and subscribe. But a lot of chaos unfolded in America today, and let it not be forgotten, this is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's America. Just over a month away from the election, it looks like we got our October surprise, which is a massive economic crisis and World War III potentially in the Middle East. We'll give you some of the details, and we will start here today with the port strike that is going across the country. 45,000 port workers from Maine to Texas. This is the first time this has happened since 1977. And if you think back to 1977, who was president back then? Whose presidency has been compared pretty extensively to Joe Biden's? Yeah, the answer there is obviously Jimmy Carter. But here is what is currently going on. Currently, nearly 50,000 members of the International Longshoremen's Association are on strike for the first time since 1977, stopping operations at the East and Gulf Coast ports of the United States, according to the Associated Press. The strike has disrupted the flow of many imports and exports, potentially making it one of the most significant work stoppages in decades. Dock workers began picketing shortly after their contract expired at midnight, with no agreement in sight. There is a significant gap between the union's demands and the offer from the United States Maritime Alliance, which represents foreign-owned shipping lines, terminal operators, and port authorities. The strike is expected to block the movement of a wide range of goods through nearly all cargo ports from Maine to Texas, including everything from toys and fresh fruit to furniture, clothing, household items, and European automobiles. So essentially what we have going on is there are going to be mass shortages in the supply chain and a huge problem with the economy across the entire East Coast, with everything having to deal with imported goods from other countries. And look, let me be clear, I do not cheer on any of this stuff. There are a lot of lives at stake, whether you want to talk about our domestic problem with the port worker strike or far away in the Middle East. But nonetheless, it is still true that in some ways it is kind of ironic and fitting that the waning days of the Biden administration are marked by empty shelves across the East Coast of this country.
Are you worried that this
They
strike...
have the capital to settle this thing.
Are you worried that this strike is going to hurt the everyday American, the farmers that need to reach the export market? They're telling me that they're going to hurt through all
Now you
of
start
this.
to realize who the longshoremen are, right?
Nobody cares.
People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now. Cars won't come in. Food won't come in. Clothing won't come in. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world. And it's time for them and time for Washington to put so much pressure on them to take care of us, because we took care of them, and we're here 135 years and brought them where they are today, and they don't want to share. And I'm done.
So look, obviously I'm no expert on the Longshoremen Union or what their contract dispute here necessarily is. I'm not here to comment on whether or not the union is actually in the right or the wrong, or the truth is somewhere in the middle. But the fact of the matter is this: we are almost exactly 1 month away from the election, and the Biden-Harris White House is going to be dealing with mass shortages of goods in this country. Tells you a lot. Now, there is something that we can directly link to the foreign policy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, which is the entire unfolding situation in the Middle East today, because that, more than anything else, is a prime display of the failed and weak foreign policy of this administration. Now we have a situation where there is an escalating geopolitical situation and likely an all-out regional war about to unfold over in the Middle East. So, long story short, yesterday Israel began operations against Hezbollah in the country of Lebanon, so they essentially started a ground invasion in Lebanon. Now, notably, and this is a prime example of how much of a joke the entire world views this administration, Joe Biden actually told Israel not to invade Lebanon. He did not want it to happen. What happened instead? Israel invaded anyway. And then in response, as you probably know today, Iran launched a massive ballistic missile attack on Israel, which Biden also told Iran not to do. So you have Biden standing over here saying, please don't escalate the war, calm down everyone, and then nobody is listening to him whatsoever. And if you think that situation will change at all under Kamala Harris's leadership, well, listen to her comments over the current situation in the Middle East right now, and it's safe to say if she is allowed to win, I think we're all doomed. Take a listen.
I'm clear-eyed. Iran is a destabilizing, dangerous force in the Middle East, and today's attack on Israel only further demonstrates that fact. Earlier today, I was in the Situation Room with President Biden and our national security team as we monitored the attack in real time and ensured that the protection of U.S. personnel in the region is paramount. I fully support President Biden's order for the U.S. military to shoot down Iranian missiles targeting Israel, just as we did in April. We are still assessing the impact, but initial indications are that Israel, with our assistance, was able to defeat this attack. Our joint defenses have been effective, and this operation and successful cooperation saved many innocent lives. As I have said, I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist militias. My commitment to the security of Israel is unwavering. And let us be clear, Iran is not only a threat to Israel, Iran is also a threat to American personnel in the region, American interests, and innocent civilians across the region who suffer at the hands of Iran-based and backed terrorist proxies. We will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend U.S. forces and interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. And we will continue to work with our allies and partners to disrupt Iran's aggressive behavior and hold them accountable.
So you listen there to that speech, and it shouldn't exactly be surprising why this woman is endorsed by Dick Cheney and many other characters from the Bush administration, because she's not exactly being coy about the fact that, yes, this war is very likely to escalate, and she is hinting pretty openly that she's willing to go to war with Iran. Meanwhile, this entire situation, as Trump will bring up time and time again, never happened and would not happen to begin with under his leadership. But we obviously know that when you have incompetent fools in charge that can't handle foreign policy, they can't handle domestic economics, they can't even handle something like hurricane disaster relief. This is what you get, is the ultimate October surprise. Empty shelves across the United States and World War III breaking out in the Middle East with no signs of it de-escalating or stopping because the United States is totally clueless, right? Now again, we are not rooting for any of these things to happen, but with that said, it is still an interesting and almost fitting reality check to the American people just a month away from the election that, hey, this is what their leadership has been looking like. Hey, remember Afghanistan? Remember how bad inflation was, especially the first 2 years of Biden's presidency? Oh, you don't? Well, here are mass shortages in America and, World War III in the Middle East. So, with that said, I think this November, the American people have a real choice and a real opportunity to say they are tired of this leadership. They want competent people. They want the adults back in the room, like they said about Donald Trump for so many years. But again, very funny. These types of things were not exactly happening during his administration, were they? Okay, with that said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Vince with RTM News. Peace.